We used to literally have 700, I have a sheet of paper that had 797 kids in Sunday school.
You know, that our neighborhood has changed a lot in our community. I joined this church when I was in grade school, so I've been through a lot of different changes, and it's very, very different than what it was when I was growing up.
But when he left, things became kind of disorganized, and there were different pastors that came in, and it was a time of discontinuity and frustration.
And I think that if we don't recognize that, we fail.
We lost a number of members at that point. 'Cause, I mean, they predicted we had less than a year, and we might be shutting our doors when they started this.
The way it was organized before, it was very difficult to get things done.
I remember saying many times, you know, I want people on the leading this congregation and coming to this church who don't look like me, who aren't an old white guy, because that's not reflective of who our neighborhood is anymore.
Things seemed like they had had victory, but God. The world seemed like it had fallen apart, but God. There seemed like there was no hope anymore, but God. But God is insidious. He's like vapor. He's like smoke. He penetrates all the little holes in corrupt societies, and he begins to change the hearts of people there.
The goal is to try to come up with ways in which we can partner with community members, because we can't do it all. And by partnering with others who have special talents and needs, and we can meet more effectively the needs of our community in ways that we couldn't do it by ourselves. So my understanding of your project is to try to lay out a framework for how we can do that.
It's like it was a completely new idea, and then I was just kind of like, do other churches do this? How is it? And it had more questions than answers, but it was all in the very like curious sense of like, oh, how could this work? Oh, what would that look like?
More comfortable for a community to come in and be involved if the main church is not part of the building.
I would wish that more people would know that they could come to us for help. Not necessarily monetary, but just a listening ear or something like that.
I think it would open up a lot of possibilities. I think that, you know, it would hopefully get the community more involved. If you'd have presented this 5 years ago, you'd have been shot down in flames.
Yeah.
Right
I'm
now,
sure.
I'd give you 75, 80%.
The next thing I knew, people on the leadership team were like, yep, we should do that. We shouldn't wait. We should do it right now. We're going to have a meeting. I was like sitting there going, what? It's my project. You can't do it.
I'm not surprised that they reacted that way.
You're not surprised?
No.
Why not?
Because, okay, so given what I know of them, that is something that I think they all want. They might not have been able to vocalize it, and you were able to like, okay, this is what, and then, you know, it just clicked like, that's exactly what I want. That's what I want from this church.
We're attempting to open the church to be a community church so that community people see this is a place where they participate in different ways.
I have seen the vision of this church. This church, we are struggling now, but this is not where we're going to be. There is a future for us. And I have seen the diagram of this church expanding across the street and going this way and having the different ethnic groups. And the vision that I have had is that these people are going to come and some are going to get more training to go back to their people and be able to minister to them, not necessarily as ministers, but as servants in various areas. The way I see it, this would be like a training ground so that people go out.
All of that, it's all to just figure out how we are not the center. And at the end of it all, the church should never be the center. Jesus should be the center, and then we're just working
Yeah.
together as a community with the community.
Right, yeah,
Not for the community, you know,
right.
with the community. So I have seen, no, not surprised. That's them.
You know, there was this story that I had about Brunswick dying and being conflicted and being angry and it being a mess, and it was really horrible. And I need to stop telling that story because God already took care of that.
5 years ago.
Right. I mean, that
Yeah.
that got taken care of in a matter of months. That was gone. And now I'm in my 5th year, so it's like, what's next? What are we building? You know, big picture, what are we building for? And it just struck me as, to hear you say that, to hear Leonard say it, to see how they responded, it's like this great turning point for me, this blessing of, you know, this isn't, it's, so I was really clear about the church not being at the center.
Mhm.
They still thought the pastor was at the center.
The work of the church is not an individual enterprise. There should be a leader, but there should be people that to help the leader to get some of the goals or objectives achieved. And it may not necessarily be the way the pastor wants it, but the pastor has to be flexible and trust the people that have the dedication to do the job. If they need help, you can call the pastor and say, I need help.
Our God is still there. Our God is still here. Our God is everywhere. You cannot kill our God. You cannot defeat our God. You cannot bury our God. Our God is ever living, ever present, ever moving forward. And so as we go through today, I want you to take away the joy that is the resurrection of our God.
Let this church be a different church in Minnesota, in the U.S., so that when I'm in Africa or when I'm in Brazil, they say, you're from Brunswick in Minnesota? Oh yeah, we know that church.